Okay, I would like to officially open the meeting this evening.
Yes. So this is the bi-monthly meeting of the Upper Darby Environmental Advisory Committee. We currently do not have a chair, so I will step in to help guide the meeting. Although I do see our past chairs in the audience, so if we could all give a wave to Bonnie Hallam, thank you so much for all your service. I know that Mayor Brown will definitely want to recognize you at an upcoming council meeting, so we'll find a date that works for you. Thank you, Bonnie. Is there anybody on Zoom? Hearing none, I will do attendance. We have Kristen? Here. Sharon? Here. Kyle?
Here.
Norman Janes is next, but I think we all saw his resignation email this afternoon. We will certainly recognize him when we see him, and I'm sure at a council meeting, and we thank him for his service. Peggy?
Here.
Stephen?
Lockhart here.
Michelle?
Here.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 13th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
Approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. The next item is nominations for Chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee. Again, as the professional staff liaison, I am just filling in because the committee does not have a vice chair. So is there any discussion about nominations for Chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee?
What is the process?
The process would be, I would ask for nominations. Nominations should be made and seconded, and the person being nominated should accept them. There can be as many nominations as the committee members like, and then we would vote on each one.
I would like to propose to the committee that when we found out that our wonderful, valiant leader was resigning, we typically as a committee don't meet in August because of summer vacations and other obligations. So we haven't really properly been able to discuss which members of our committee may want to consider being nominees. So I would like to make a recommendation that we allow ourselves to have a non-public meeting to discuss leadership possibilities, and that we could possibly vote at the next public meeting, which would be in October or November, I believe. So I'd like to bring that up for discussion with the other members of the committee. Anybody had any objections or?
I don't have any objections to what you're suggesting, Kristen. I think that filling these shoes is going to be a challenge, but I think that we'll definitely be able to keep the committee going, and we'll find someone else that will, be glad enough to join our team and step up to fill these positions. So.
Yeah, I guess my concern would we keep things moving forward, but from what I've seen of this committee, you're all stepping up, so that concern is unwarranted.
Yes.
And I think because of our regular schedule of having a non-public meeting, which is slightly less formal, will give us the opportunity to meet and discuss our future plans and just to see where everybody's at. A lot of us have been on this committee since 2020 and have worked together for several years now. So I think in light of Bonnie's been our chair for that entire term, again, I think there's a lot to discuss. And I think Bonnie, we might need some guidance on her behalf in terms of what exactly were all of her responsibilities, which I don't think any of us ever asked Bonnie what all of her responsibilities are because she did so much. And I think I personally can only speak for myself. I took a lot of that for granted. So I would really like to better understand the full scope of her responsibilities so that we're adequately able to cover all those areas.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I will add, so that the committee is aware, if you weren't already, that your past chair was working very actively to fill some of the vacancies on the committee. So there are currently 3 candidates that are going through the process. It's a new process for the township, a little bit more orderly in how we identify candidates, accept interest applications, and then it goes through a process where the individual's application is reviewed by the mayor's office. The individual meets with the professional staff liaison. Of course, that's me for this committee. And then I would meet with the chair to talk about the candidacy of those applicants. Of course, the mayor has final decision, and then he would bring his appointments to council. So the earliest that we would be able to get new members on the committee would be at the second meeting in October.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you have that for your time frame.
Okay.
I'd also suggest when you have discussions, perhaps the committee would like to consider a vice chair or a secretary for succession.
And I'm assuming that the new members, once, appointed, would also have the opportunity to take a chair position as well, correct? So we would want to give them consideration. Although I know they're new members, it probably would be a tall order to step in as a new member and then also want to be nominated for a chair position. But I'm assuming we would want to give them the opportunity?
Well, that's really for this committee to consider when you have your discussions at your meeting coming up. You could opt to wait until there are new members seated, or you could move forward. It's really up to you.
Okay.
So shall we take a vote about holding off
Mm-hmm.
nominations for the chair? Do we have a motion? Yeah.
Yes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. The next item, we go into old business, and it's the plastic pollution reduction ordinance with an update from me. So I'd like to thank the committee for your patience. I was asked by council after Councilor Blackwell met with members of this committee to discuss a potential ordinance to do business community feedback. And that process took me a little bit longer, but I've been kind of a one-person operation. So thank you for understanding. The letter and survey was sent to the business community. It went to 3,500 businesses who are classified as mercantile business taxpayers. We received about 200 responses. We sent it out via USPS, and I think that we got about 100 responses back by US mail.
Okay.
Yeah, so interesting lesson for me as a community and economic, development director to say people still like their printed materials.
Yes.
So I'll be mindful of that in the future. So the results of that survey are being put together, and they will inform the business community in-person discussions, the feedback sessions. The first one is tomorrow night here in this room. And I have flyers I can pass around. Sure. Go. I also have extras in case anybody would like to take them around to businesses to help generate interest and participation. So tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in this room is the first. The survey results will be revealed, which we are hoping will spark discussion. All are welcome at the business community feedback sessions, but they are for the purpose of getting business community feedback. So we ask that all comments relay back to businesses. And that could be a community member commenting on going to a business and how it might affect them if there is a change. So that will be the focus. It's moderated by the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce. On Tuesday, September 16th, the second session will be at Artillery Brewing in their event space, not in the restaurant. And the third session will be at Falks Beyond the Vows, 635 Long Lane, again from 6 to 7. After we have those sessions complete, we will put together a report, we meaning my office, will put together a report that will be submitted to council for their consideration and direction on what steps they might want to take next.
Mhm.
Are there any questions?
In attending, what support could we provide?
So I think it is really good to have all perspectives represented, and I'm not exactly sure how the format's going to go, but I expect that business owners will have more specific questions about the effect of plastic bags on the township, in the world, et cetera. So I know that some of you are planning to attend these sessions.
Mhm.
You might want to think about one person representing EAC to answer those questions, just to keep things flowing a little bit more smoothly. And just, if I know and Trish knows, she's from Delaware County Commerce Department, Chamber of Commerce, we could rely on that representative of the EAC to answer questions that business owners might have.
Okay, so are we first line or second line as far as, so since that individual is going to be there, are they the first line to answer? Are they the front person or are we, or shared?
The moderator is just going to moderate the conversation.
Okay.
She's not a subject matter expert.
Okay,
But if EAC would like to put forth a subject matter expert that she can turn to,
okay,
if she determines it's a question that would, could use a response,
okay.
that's what I would suggest.
So the moderator would come to us.
Yes.
Okay,
I reached out to Fran, who is, Farron, I said his name wrong, I'm sorry, Farron, isn't it, from Penn Environmental, and he is available to come tomorrow night. So he would be the person who understands the whole environment impact
Mhm.
and is probably the most versed in all of this.
yeah, he's sort of Pennsylvania's leadership
Correct.
on plastic pollution expertise. He is the leader in Pennsylvania for Penn Environment.
And Farron also additionally helped spearhead all of the initiatives in the 5 counties in Delaware County that already have enacted ordinances. So he was first line support, and in terms of numbers, bag usage in Delaware County, even able to narrow it down to that township or borough or municipality. So he really is, we've used him as a resource in terms of getting the real numbers of what's going on here and what is the impact of reduction. So I'm happy that he'll be able to be in attendance.
Well, if the committee would like to identify him as your representative subject matter expert, then I think that would be great. It wouldn't prevent you from getting up and making comments, but it would be the person that Trish would turn to as being able to provide that feedback. So if that's what you agree to, let me know.
So Farron, is there going to be there tomorrow night?
Yes, I reached out to him and explained to him that this was going on, and he said he was available. I don't know if he was going to be available for all 3, but he
Uh-huh.
said he was available. And obviously, he is the one that's most knowledgeable.
If he could just be here by 5:45 so I can introduce him to Trish. I
Absolutely.
think I've met him, I'm not sure. Maybe just seen him on TV.
And also, we can, I know myself and probably other members will be there. I think we might get a good idea of some of the questions that will be asked, and, I'll be taking notes and listening to Farron's responses, and, I have a pretty extensive understanding of what's going on in Delaware County as well. So hopefully between that, we'll be able to then answer questions that are
Going
going to be
forward.
posed at the next 2 meetings.
Yeah,
I think the line of questioning, I'm assuming, might be somewhat similar from the business community and concerns that they may have. So hopefully we'll be able to gauge that from tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, then I will look forward to meeting him and introducing him to Trish tomorrow at 5:45. If anything changes, we can just pivot then. Any other questions on the plastics pollution reduction, community feedback, business community feedback?
Is this the township meeting room?
This is, yes,
This room is, okay.
yes.
And we'll post this on our EAC Facebook page, just as for, general knowledge, and just share it out to the forums and whatnot.
That would be great.
I'll just remind everybody, she has extras over here if you need them
I
when you leave.
Again, recognizing that some of our community members like it on paper.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It really was a great response, that-
That's sometimes a response rate of 3% is even considered, acceptable for sometimes surveys of this size. So I think that's extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to give you enough to kind of get a sense for how the community feels about it. I did have some concerns. I had expressed that one of the questions didn't designate the size of the business, because I felt like it might skew it a little bit to give everybody equal weight, when we had lots of discussions prior about, really easing the mom and pop businesses along. Some of the bigger chain stores have already implemented reduction efforts, either on a corporate level or just through other, municipalities. So I don't think they'll be as difficult to manage, but we always talked about the runway approach, right? This is not going to be like flicking a light switch. So, and we're positioned to help the smaller shops to come along, So I think it'll be some really interesting feedback. Hopefully we have some businesses attend.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to review our materials. It's been a while. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Then the next agenda item is a possible workshop, October 14th, toxins in plastic production and recycling. Any updates on that? We did miss a meeting due to a thunderstorm, so it's been a minute. Is there anybody in the audience who knows about this agenda item? Madam Past Chair, if you would. I shouldn't have let Eric leave.
Hello? Thank you, Lee. I had been in communication with Alex Danovich, and he has set that date aside. I think that what we haven't done, or what hasn't happened yet, is that we need to reserve a place, and if the one center is open, maybe you could check with the folks who, I think Eric maybe takes care of one center, and check with Eric about that. And also get some kind of promotional material out. And the other thing that I was thinking that it might be good to do for that is to contact the folks at the county. Rebecca Yurovich is the chair of sustainability in Delaware County, and she might be able to help promote it as well. So I would love to see it held here in Upper Darby. I think that that's a really great thing, but it's great if we can gather people from other places as well. I remember when we did the recycling one where we brought in from all over the place. That was virtual during COVID, and it was really a great program, and we got a lot of people to come online and who learned from that. So I think that if we reach out beyond Upper Darby and beyond, then you could get a really great group to come.
And I'm sorry, I forgot about this. We talked about this when we were doing the community survey. We found that through the survey, we didn't really understand the impact of plastics in terms of microplastics. A lot of the community didn't even know what a microplastic was. How does it get into your body? So we were talking as a committee that we thought this would be an important session in terms of people understanding the impact for small children, and So I'm happy that we're going to continue on with this, so I
Yeah,
think it's.
and I also think that hearing from people at council meetings about their like opinions about a plastic bag ban, and there's been several sessions where people have talked about, well, why don't we get away from plastic bottles, and, let's not use plastic bottles, and and I think that this is a good first step to show people that, yeah, if you are using plastic bottles, maybe you do want to get away from plastic bottles. So, but, the plastic pollution reduction ordinance is like a first step in moving us towards a healthier community. But there's lots of things that people in the community can do on their own that could make them healthier as well. So anyway, if there's any way that I can help the team with any of this, please let me know.
So I have a question. So what Kristen just said about a lot of people haven't even heard about any of this, that there are these toxins and there are the problems with recycling. How would we fill in the gap so that people would be aware that there's an issue that they would want to learn about?
Well, there's an uncountable amount of resources online.
Uh-huh.
You just can Google the information, and there's several World Health Organizations that have conducted really extensive studies. In fact, Penn Environment,
Uh-huh.
did extensive studies of the Delaware and some of the primary water sources here in Delaware County. So we could, in answer to that, we could provide resources and just our own general knowledge of what we have discovered as a committee in our findings, and offer practical solutions.
Yeah, a lot of wonderful resources, I agree. On the other hand, so is there a gap in between all those resources, those wonderful resources and all that research and everything that's available to people, and where you're hearing where people are at, which is they're not even aware that there's a danger? So do we need to get people aware first so that they're actually interested in accessing a workshop, accessing those resources? Am I getting across?
I'm not quite sure, but let me
Okay.
see if I can feed back to you. So you're saying that a lot of people are not aware of the fact that plastics are harmful to their health,
Yeah,
and so therefore they would not necessarily be interested in coming to a workshop that
Uh-huh.
talks about plastics being harmful to your health. So this is just my perspective. I'm an educator, and when there's opportunities to learn about something, that's the beginning of the journey. And so for me, to answer your question, I would say if you are promoting something where you're asking people to come out and learn about how plastics are harmful to your health, that would be their first step in the journey. And then if there's more interest and they want to look for more resources, then they could follow up after that. But anytime you offer any opportunities to educate people, that to me is the beginning of filling that gap. That's the first step.
okay.
That's to me. Yeah.
So communication on various
Absolutely.
platforms.
Yes. Okay.
I also want to answer your question. I think that people are aware of the dangers. They may not know how to replace or may not find it financially feasible to replace old habits with new habits. And I think that when we have workshops, we can talk to people and encourage them to just do one step at a time. And I think that because our children are also learning about these in school,
Uh-huh.
that it is reaching the households. It's just a matter of the steps that people are taking to implement the change, and change takes time.
And people knowing that there are options.
That there are options, and I think when our township as well as the committee is also promoting, advertising, and we are actively taking the steps to improve our neighborhoods, then people will eventually do the same thing. So as long as we're providing resources and tools, I believe that people will start to change their behavior.
Okay, so your experience is that there are quite a lot of people that are aware that these are problems.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And also, I think it's worth to revisit a lot of our ideas. We were working with the Pennsylvania Resource Council to get into the schools. We thought that a great opportunity always is to reach young people. You know, when children go home and start asking questions to their parents, like, you know, Mommy, do we recycle? You know, when they take an active part in any, you know, initiative, it's usually has a higher success rate, I think, overall. If those of us who have children, if your kids want to do something, you're like, yeah, let's do it. So we need to circle back. There was funding available for education in the schools, and, you know, I'd like to continue to pursue that now that we have a new school year ahead of us, and continue on with some of these initiatives started
A couple
again.
years ago, right?
Yeah, again, and I think they might have visited a couple of the classrooms last year in Upper Darby. Diane we had, Bonnie and I had linked her with the teachers she needed to speak to, so I think I'd like to circle back on that idea. But yeah, Peggy, you know, is this a heavy lift? Yeah. Again, the survey said that a lot of people were somewhat unaware, so we're gonna have to start somewhere, and this looks like it's a starting point for the conversation, so.
Is there any more discussion on this agenda item? Okay. Sounds like more to come at a later date. The next item is pollinator gardens, and there are a few different gardens identified with names next to them. So the newest pollinator garden, I've got Kristen next to that one.
I was fortunate enough to be a pilot pollinator garden recipient this summer. Due to the grant monies that we had gotten from Xerxes and other, you know, grants that Bonnie funded, we had a pollinator workshop meeting over at the library over the summer, and it was extremely well attended. People were very excited. They had brought up something about a green desert, and I think that really resonated with people. You know, we're also concerned about having this nice green lawn, but what does that nice green lawn really give back? It gives back nothing. So we were introduced to the term of a green desert, and you know, it sort of ignited us as a committee to reinvest in this pollinator garden idea. So we have one down at Gillespie Field that was planted a couple of years ago. That's doing quite well, did pretty well this summer. And we've hit a couple setbacks, I think, with Naylor's Run. I'll let Stephen talk about that. But again, I was able to successfully plant a pollinator garden. It was about 14 feet by 14 feet, and it's doing exceedingly well. And so now that's just another layer of knowledge for me and for the committee members that I can now take what I've experienced and maybe even assist Stephen and some of the other, you know, we work with the tree tenders and some of the other committees on this particular initiative. It's not just EAC. I can now be a resource, I think, in terms of the planning. Stephen showed me how to use the augers and gave me some really interesting techniques to make life easier. So there's just another step in the process now, another tool in my toolkit. But I'll hand that over to Stephen because he's well-versed in what's going on at Naylor's.
Naylor's Run Gateway is an entrance into Naylor's Run off Garrett Road. And we proposed doing something under the trolley trestle between two of the supports. The space was 56 feet wide, and then wrapping around the first support, it would be, 56 feet long, wrapping around the support, and 8 feet wide. There is a problem. You're right, directly under the tracks, and it's SEPTA territory. I believe that they objected to us putting something there because some of the people would be under some of the material that came down from above on the trolley tracks, namely creosote and other possible pollutants. We mentioned to them that that probably isn't a good reason because those same pollutants would hit the ground and then wash into the creek, which is Naylor's Run, and just become somebody else's problem. A pollinator garden could actually mitigate some of the effects of what they consider pollutants. However, we had some setbacks trying to arrange a meeting with SEPTA during the summer. You might have heard they had bigger considerations. So we hope to revisit this sometime later this fall, maybe be able to do something in the spring. What we'd want to do is try to till that area slightly and then put in as many as 400 seedling plugs and maybe 10 shrubs. And we would station a tote there, which we could fill with our heavy pump. We can move it to the creek and fill it up when it's necessary. We can also put in a drip irrigation system, so it would be almost self-watering. So there is a plan in place to approach SEPTA with this. We don't know where it will lead. It'll probably take a while because when you're dealing with a large organization like SEPTA, things do take a bit of time. But we're optimistic about it. Any questions?
Did you get, because we were discussing this at our last meeting, was that the final outcome of the watering issue? Because there was some discussion about the members of the tennis team taking on that responsibility. And then we were saying that there was actually the building there, the bathrooms, and asking the township if we could utilize that as a water source.
We didn't go any further with that. It's kind of an awkward situation. You'd have to run pipes across the driveway entrance into Nailers Run Park. Running across those hoses could be a problem. I don't know that it's insurmountable, but it's awkward. It's one more step we'd have to take. If we just had to fill up the tote, let's say every 2 weeks or so during the summer, I think it's probably a more viable option. But we're open to suggestions.
I did have a meeting with Steve Sardi. It was for the Darby Creek Valley Association, but I did ask about the potential of using that hose. I think it was in that building. He couldn't, confirm that we could use it, but he said he was going to look into it for us. I haven't really had a chance to connect with him back on it. And I know that there were some questions about other sites in Nailers Run for the pollinator plantings and being in partnership with the tennis club. That kind of fell into the same kind of, he wasn't sure exactly what was happening yet and needed to get some further answers. But I can reach back out to him, get the conversation going again. Kind of got lost in summer and all the plantings and everything that people had going on. But I'll pick that ball back up and talk with Steve.
Yeah, the location at the entrance, which we call the gateway, it's an easy place for us to start to locate a tote, a 300-gallon container. Putting a tote somewhere else along the roadway or somewhere else in the park could be problematic and would likely be a good bit further from the creek. May not have the access that we would have. There is an easy access behind the courts. We can drop our intake hose directly in with very little problem. And we have 300 feet of hose to bring from the pump, so we can easily make that.
All right, that sounds great.
There was also an option of having a landscaper do the initial work for us. So that's still a possibility as well.
Is this tote the same tote that's over at Gillespie? Would we be transferring it?
No, we have 6.
Well, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Awesome.
And we can get more if we need them. They're not terribly expensive. If you bought them brand new, yes, they're very expensive. We buy them used and then we try to rinse them out and we're in pretty good shape. From an Amish group that uses things that are not toxic to the environment.
So there were actually 2 bullet points regarding Nailers Run. There's the gateway, Stephen, and then possible locations. Kyle, did you have anything else to add to Nailers Run conversation?
Other than what I had said earlier, no, I need to circle back with Steve Sardi from Parks and Rec. Just kind of shore up what the plans are for those other sites. I know he had talked about one going along the tennis courts and then possibly another one like along the parking lot. So I just need to talk with him and then I can relay all that information to the rest of the committee.
And Bonnie, I think we're gonna need help on this to correct me. Was the Stonehurst Hills pollinator garden successfully implemented? That one was done. And then the Drexel line and the library. Wasn't there something with the Drexel location?
Yeah, I think I can speak to those.
Okay.
First at Stonehurst, we put in two 100 square foot rain gardens in the retention basin there. And then we fenced them off with chicken wire. There's a tendency for the weeds to get back in there, so we need to go back in now and then. But I believe we put more than 100 pollinator plugs in each, and most of them are doing very well. We had to water them a couple times. August was pretty dry, but we bring a tote and transfer pumps over there to add water to it. Not as much water gets into that retention basin as probably should, but that's for a different situation. There's a problem at the municipal library. Grounds crew came over from Public Works and didn't read the sign, no mow, and cut down the 100 plugs that were put in there, even though there was light fencing there, and municipal library was not happening. It's not the first time it's happened. I've asked the library to meet with Public Works and talk about the problem, rather than me being an intermediary between them. But they have not done so yet. So that needs to be worked out between them. Well, it needs to be much heavier than what they did. I mean, I think they used wooden dowels and some ribbon around it and put up a sign, and that wasn't enough. They just went in and cut it down. So I think there's still about 15 of the 100 that they put in. 15 are still viable, still alive. But it's frustrating, to do that work, spend an hour and a half, 2 hours putting those things in and then having a problem. So, right. And there was a third, what was the third one?
Drexel line?
Drexel Shopping Center. Both Ms. Hallam and I met with one of the managers at the Wawa and asked him about the idea of putting a pollinator garden in the loop, which is a spur trail from the Drexel Darby Creek Trail that goes off behind Wawa. And he was very enthusiastic about some of his people being able to help with the watering. We probably station a smaller, not a tote, but something maybe it was just 100 gallons or 75 gallons, and fill it periodically. And they, with one of their hoses, could then water the garden, maybe twice a week, right after it gets planted, that kind of thing. We might have to strip the grass from that surface. We have a landscaper to do that, so that would cost us something initially. We could look for some donors perhaps to help with that. There are a few banks there that said they would be willing to help with some stuff. I don't know if they're going to give away money. Banks don't do that, but they might be willing to do something. So we have a couple of avenues that we want to explore. Both Ms. Hallam and I got put back with some stuff. We were not able to do some things this summer to foster this situation. So we'll try and do something this winter, maybe get something done in the spring.
Yep. And then the final item under pollinator gardens is from tabling at the Pride Fest. Several people were interested in pollinator gardens. Did anybody hear table?
So I did apply for a table and I am able to staff it, and I have reached out, not so much, we can give out information on the pollinator gardens, but we have, ShopRite has agreed to provide 50 bags and to give cards, and we're still, Wawa was very enthusiastic also, so I need to follow back. He hasn't responded, and I reached out to, I forget the other two. So we'll be there, we'll give out free bags, we'll give out information, and just be another time to resource, and we'll be working with the contenders at that table.
And is that for International Fest on September 20th? That's great, great. You got the table, no problem. Great, thank you. And was there tabling at Pride?
Yes, yes.
June.
Back in June.
Back in
And
June.
yes, Bonnie and I worked together, and we had another wonderful person who helped with, what was it? Wendy, who was amazing. And we were, again, another resource and answered questions. and provided lots of information.
Great, thank you. Anything else on pollinator gardens? Then the next agenda item is electric landscape tools. From the agenda, resident advocate John, getting bigger play at state and national level, a webinar from Penn Environment. Does anybody have the lead on this? Is that Peggy is motioning to Stephen.
I don't have a lead on that particular webinar, but I can mention, we employ several tools that we store in the shed. One is an 8-inch bore auger, and the DCPA has the same machine. We use a 6 amp hour battery with it, and it will dig between 75 and 100 holes before, down to an 8-inch deep depth, before the one battery is used up, and a second battery can be employed. So you could work to make as many as 150 to 200 holes with that. We also employ a weed whacker, which uses a 4 amp hour battery, and we also have a hedge clipper, which uses a 2 amp hour battery. Those people who have watched us working cannot believe how quiet these tools are. They're very effective in doing their jobs. And the tools are getting better and better. They recharge much more quickly than they used to. So we think they're a way to go. We have no difficulty with them. Our only problem is we don't have power in the shed, so we have to bring them home to charge the batteries. But we find they're very effective tools, and we don't use all of the tools in the arsenal. We can't afford to buy all of them. But every tool that we have used so far, we've been very pleased with the results, how effective they are at doing their job, how quickly they recharge, and how quiet they are.
Good.
So it sounds like this might be another initiative for the committee's work on a very full agenda already, but very worthy, it sounds like.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about that a couple of years ago. I think the first year I was on this committee about, and we'd talked about the status. And I remember, Peggy, you said your husband at that point had gotten something that was electric, but he hadn't opened the box yet. And so, and I remember, Stephen, you were talking about, there were the pros and cons at that point. So it's really good to hear that this progress has been made, that those issues are being addressed.
Right. Right now, frequently, the power in a gas-powered machine is usually a little better than anything that the electric have. However, there are a lot of drawbacks to having a gas-powered machine. If you talk to the guys at Public Works, they might have to use a weed whacker all day long. They just have to refill it with gas from time to time. Our weed whacker would probably work for about an hour, and then you'd have to have another battery. But you could recharge, if you have a good charger, you could recharge that battery while a second battery is working. So you could essentially use them all day long. Now, after so many charges, let's say 150, 200 charges, you would have to get a new battery. They don't last forever. So there are drawbacks to them. But the fact that they are quieter and many times can do the job, for example, the weed whacker that we have, it does the same output as roughly a 19 cc gas-powered weed whacker. And many people would tell you who do lawns, that's a pretty good job, okay? It's not what Public Works have to do. They have to do all day long, so they're making strides.
I don't know if I had brought this up, because again, we have been talking about this for a couple of years, I believe, this idea. Has anyone ever, Stephen, you may know, have any other municipalities, even outside of Delaware County, done something similar? And was there ever an opportunity to, say, piggyback even with a Home Depot for like some sort of buyback program? I guess I'm thinking about the landscape companies that I'm familiar with, the shoestring budgets that they run on, in terms of updating all of their equipment might be more feasible if they thought that they could, I know Pico was doing a rebate if you upgraded your refrigerator and things like that. Do you know of any opportunities for that kind of?
There are some municipalities that forbid the use of gas-powered equipment. So landscapers have to make that investment to use a tool which is quieter and also less harmful to the environment.
Mhm.
So that's a difficult lift. I mean, we're just trying to get bags removed. But it's something you can look at down the road and you can see, okay, what's happening in those communities. Sometimes homeowners who employ these landscapers are requesting that they use that kind of thing. There's a fellow who does lawns in my neighborhood, and I had a back problem a few years ago. I asked if he'd use my electric lawnmower. He was happy to use it. Then he purchased one. Now, he doesn't use it all the time, but the whole idea is something, if you can get people started, they see the advantages of it, okay? I don't think we'll be asking the municipality to forbid gas-powered machines anytime soon, but
Well, I know, I'm in a little row home community and we have one landscaper that obviously has 6 or 7 homes and they'll come and do them on a Saturday. I know from my personal experience, when they're doing homes in close proximity, you can't be outside, because they're running the equipment for a half hour, 40 minutes, and all you can smell is,
The
the
gas.
gasoline.
Yeah.
So as a homeowner, if I could choose a landscaper that didn't have that type of technology, I think that would be, I would be incentivized by that alone.
well,
And the noise.
not that the township was ever going to change to gas-powered, from gas-powered, but might be something that we could do, put something on a website, the township website. Here are landscapers who employ electric-powered, kind of thing.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd mention that.
I hope there are. I hope there are some in Delaware County.
Yeah, if there are some, we're going to be launching the Small Business Resource Center this fall. So that's an opportunity if there's somebody out there who wants to start a business like this. Once that resource center is up and running, it sounds like they might have a ready-made market.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh, great.
Any other conversation on this agenda item? Next, we move on to new business and the reusable bags, where Peggy, I think you had started talking a little bit about that.
So as I said, Wawa, I met with the new manager and he was very receptive. I just need to follow back on it. ShopRite already has agreed. They haven't told me when to pick up. And I will circle back with Acme and pick up, see if they want to give out bags so that at the International Fair, as we promote people to use reusable bags, we can also give them free reusable bags.
So does the supply that you have like in one center, is that,
No, I asked ShopRite and they have said they would provide 50. They just haven't told me yet when to pick up.
oh, okay.
And the other, Wawa was very ecstatic or very open. I just stopped one day, but I need to follow back. As you all know, they're so busy. It's just more that they have other things to do. So it's my job to go back and say, this is when it's coming. When can I
Okay.
visit you?
So these businesses provide their reusable bags to give out
Right.
to Upper Darby residents.
Correct.
Cool.
till The international.
So they get, they get some publicity and,
Yes, and I told them we could make a sign for them to say, thank you to the following who have provided
Provided.
these free bags. And as we know from last year and the last 2 years, people love them and they are always willing to take them. And as we know, we just go to Havertown, they need those bags to go shopping.
And as I'm moving forward, do we also supply bags at the one center for residents? I think we had at Peggy at some time offered that option. Is that something that the township still?
Do you mean a branded Upper Darby Township reusable bag? Those are not offered, to my
Okay.
knowledge.
They have been in the past at times, I've seen them.
It does sound familiar. I think it's been quite a while.
I've been a while, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I believe there were also donations from other groups, let's say Wawa, et cetera, that were given to the township that could be given away at the one center. So Wawa had 100 bags or Giant or whoever had.
Is something like that feasible from the township? You know, considering it's something that was done in the past, would the township, is that something we could investigate in terms of the township also providing some bags for residents?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to my colleagues at the township. I think the one center is the logical place for that to happen. So I will check with him. We are about to go into budget time.
Right.
So perfect timing to get in requests.
I know Waste Management was another resource for us in the past, and we're very generous with contributions of things when we were doing some of our recycling efforts. So I would be happy to reach back out to them and see if they would be happy to donate some more.
Is that our current one, Waste Management?
I think it is still,
Is our,
or, oh, Republic, I'm sorry, Republic, yeah.
Republic is a
Um,
different one now.
Yeah, Republic was, Waste Management helped, and then Republic also helped as well. They had a representative, I think his name was Dominic, came out and
Mhm.
talked to us. So I would be happy to follow up with
That'd
them
be great.
in the future, not necessarily, I don't have an expectation for the International Fair, but moving forward, they might be able to donate some for the one center.
Great. And speaking of the International Festival, it is Saturday, September 20th, right here at the Five Points intersection from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The rain date is Saturday, September 27th, if we end up with rain. And Peggy, you had talked about having that table, and I'm guessing you'll be there.
And we will also be in conjunction with tree tenders, so it'll all fit through. It'll all make sense. Or, I can't think of the wording I'm thinking.
Hope to
Great.
see you all there.
Yes.
The next item is township updates. My update really was the work being done on the plastics reduction proposed ordinance. So I do not have any other updates. Are there any questions for me about the township in general?
Would it be possible to get some, some support from the township? The EAC has a social media site that we manage. Would it be reasonable for us to ask that if we were to provide the township with updates and some photos, that they would be willing to share that on their social media? Letting residents know what some of these township committees are doing, just periodically, even if it's only just a few times a year.
Yeah, Rob Ellis is our communications officer. So if there's a point of contact from the committee that would like to coordinate with him. I know what I do just as in my role with community and economic development is I send him something and I say, if you think this would be good, please use it. Perhaps you saw my Bernie's pretzels photo. I just went by to buy some pretzels and welcome Bernie's to Upper Darby. Sent it to Rob, he posted it, and it got a great response. I'm sure it was the pretzels and not me, but it was nice to see something fun on the township social media. So absolutely, just let me know who the point person will be and I'll connect you with Rob.
I think even just for education, even though it seems obvious to us because we're on the committee, I don't think people realize how closely we actually do work with the township and how we're guided by the township, that we don't work independently, that we are under the advisement of the township. So I think it's also it adds another layer of education in case anybody might be interested in joining the committee. They might see that there's actually a structure involved to it. So I think that could be useful for us moving forward.
Absolutely. We would like to have a steady pipeline of residents who are interested in serving on this committee as well as other boards and commissions. Getting people involved and engaged is definitely a goal of the administration.
Just one question. Was Upper Darby invited to that press, whatever it was, with the golf course at Cobb's Creek the other day?
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. Again, my brain is tired
Yes,
today.
yeah. Yes, Mayor Brown was invited. Unfortunately, as he does have a day job, he wasn't able to attend. So Crandall Jones, our Chief Administrative Officer, attended. He said it was about 600 people. It was a big event, and the governor was there, as well as Mayor Parker from Philadelphia and electeds far and wide. Anybody that could get an invitation, wrangled one. It sounded like it was a great event, and I've worked with the executive director of the foundation. I've been over at their site a few times, saw their summer programs that were free for children of Upper Darby as well as Philadelphia. And lunch was served. It was a beautiful setting for those kids. They were doing 3D printing. It was a podcast studio. It's very, very nice. It's a great asset for the community and for our children. And then there's a little 9-hole golf course that the kids can go do. So it's great to have that so close.
I learned how to golf there twice. Didn't work, but but a great course when prior.
Any other questions on township? No. The next item is environmental group updates. So,
I don't think we have much.
I think overall, we're restructuring slightly, and fortunately, I think a lot of these initiatives have been ongoing with us as a committee, and I think we're eager to get reinitiated with the schools. I now and Peggy have positions within the Upper Darby School District, and I would like to put it out to the committee for an opportunity to get back into having the schools recycle. I know Westbrook Park is not doing recycling at all. They don't even have recycle bins in the schools.
That's because Clifton Heights does not recycle because they are a small enough community. I agree.
Right.
But Clifton Heights does not recycle. They have their own trash service and they do not recycle.
Okay, that would make sense, but
But still, you're absolutely right. There is a recycling bin at Westbrook Park. I took my stuff out all the time, but it's not the norm.
so just, getting back to completing, circling back around to some of the initiatives that we've been working on, and hopefully our new appointees will be eager to to help with some of our initiatives.
These are two things that are corollaries to what we do. One is the nursery expansion was completed this summer, and this Saturday there's going to be a big group of people there trying to get some things in order. Fortunately, the expansion was done just in time. I got a late notice yesterday from Chesapeake Bay Foundation that of the 950 seedling trees that we ordered in the first order,
Oh, wow.
we're getting 875 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the first order. We have another order for 450 after that. So hopefully those things will work out.
Just an update from the Darby Creek Valley Association, which is going to be having its cleanup, its fall cleanup this October 25th. There are a number of sites already signed up for Upper Darby. I'm hoping to get some more. So there are volunteer opportunities coming up that, the community and possibly the board could get, not the board, but the committee could get involved with. So yeah, just wanted to toss that out there.
Awesome.
thank you. Any other updates from environmental groups? Then our next agenda item is public comment. Is there any public comment?
There we go. Lee Jordan, do I think of my address or, okay. Well, I first have a couple questions about what you covered today and not why I'm here, but for the plastics reduction ordinance, which I think is great. I mean, I'm all for it. And I do agree that starting with the children in the schools is a really good idea. And using the International Festival to hand out bags is great, but it all comes down to communication to, the residents that this is coming. And I mean, any way that you can do that, any way that you can get out there and just tell them so people are prepared when they go to the stores. I mean, I'm used to it because I shop at like Aldi and Lidl, so I never I always have my own bag. So I'm already doing that, but maybe for a lot of people. And then maybe if we had more trash cans throughout the township too, that could help too. If we could get some that separate, like recyclables. And I know it's easier said than done to have more trash cans throughout the township. But I mean, that's also something else that maybe could help, start educating people, or kids are out with their parents to kind of start separating, trash. Another, I guess, question I have, and I guess this is just somebody to explain to me, what is a green desert? I don't know what that is. Whatever, there is a term used.
We were informed when we did our pollinator garden workshop that a green desert is essentially just a sort of a generic term to indicate that although you may have a wonderful green grass, it's in terms of pollinators and what pollinators seek, like butterflies, bees, any kind of landing insect, there's nothing for them to get nectar from or pollen, because grass doesn't provide any flowering opportunities for pollinators. And as we know, the pollinator community, bees, butterflies, things like that, is in rapid decline, and it's just educating people to change that mindset, that when you actually plant a pollinator garden, it's less maintenance in terms of the mowing of a lawn. You might have a giant green lawn, but if half of that is a pollinator garden, it takes care of itself. If you have it in a confined space and you've allowed it to kind of expand into an area, it's a perennial garden that comes back every year. So it's
okay.
less to have to maintain overall. And I think it's just allowing people to understand that mindset, that your garden provides an opportunity, not only for a beautification, because pollinator gardens are gorgeous. That's why bees and butterflies love them. The varieties of pollinating native plants to this area are so abundant, so easy to grow, and so prolific, that you could literally have a pollinator garden and not have to ever mow again. So it's essentially it's an attempt to change the mindset of what your yard should look like, and what we're conditioned to understand as having a lawn that gives back.
No, it's good. I mean, I never knew that, so I was just curious. That's interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that. But the reason I'm here this evening is because of the proposed developments at the Mazzino track. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but.
Which one?
Both.
Okay.
So the one across from ShopRite, that's 14 acres. There's currently, the developer can build 53 or 56 single homes. That's how it's zoned. But there's also Plan B, where there's a proposal for 88 townhouses, apartments, and commercial. I have with me today, and the other property, a different developer, is the tract that's in between Bella Vista and Speedway. There's actually, I don't know, might even be 2 lots where there's a proposal for a car wash to be built. I'm listening to 815 trees and 400 trees that we're getting to plant. Well, we're going to be taking down a lot of trees to build this. And I think it's a quality of life issue in Upper Darby Township. We lack open space in general. I think it's an issue with Darby Creek, especially with the car wash, the runoff, and it's a flood zone. There's a lot of issues surrounding it. I have 2 letters from Darby Creek Valley Association that I'd like to give each of you, opposing the developments and maybe looking at other options to try to keep us a little bit more greener. Steve, you may even have copies of these, I'm not sure. So if you could just pass these out. What? Yeah, they're 2-sided. But anyway, so, I know you're concerned about the environment. I sat here for the last hour listening to you, and so am I. So it's something that in my wish list to see if we can save some of the green space we have, and the quality of life, and the wildlife, and the pollination. And maybe we don't have to get close to 1,000 trees to plant. Maybe we can save the thousands that are already in those woods. Thank you.
Could you just clarify, and I am so sorry that this is the first that I'm hearing
no,
of this.
no, that's
y-
fine.
You know,
Yeah.
could you, I'm over like in the Westford Park area,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not on this side. Could you clarify for me exactly where the Mosino tract is?
The track. So Mazzino, he owned 2 properties. So across from the new Drexel Line Shopping Center. So in between, like where Collinbrook Church is on State Road and Route 1, there's 14 acres that's tucked away right in there. That has been sold to
It has been
Rockwell.
sold.
It has been sold to Rockwell Development. Greg Lingo is the developer. That's his name.
Is that in this, in the document?
I don't know if it specifically says, it's just 2 letters, just talking about the environmental impact that building in these 2 spaces has on our community and how we do really lack space and how we are very concerned about Darby Creek and the runoff and pollution. And we talk about how excited our children get when they're at Cobb's Creek and seeing the open space. Well, they get just as excited when they go to Collinbrook Farm, even though Collinbrook Farm isn't affected, but they do walk farther into the woods, which is a beautiful space to see. I mean, there's
Important
wildlife,
point.
there's deer, there's birds in the creek,
Right
there's,
there.
you know, there's fish and everything. So
Who was the owner of the 14 acres prior to it being acquired by?
Mazzino was the family name. So they own that. And then the other property is off of Route 1 where the light is, where the Speedway gas station is, and then you have the Sunoco. So at that light, to the right, if you look over, there's a wooded area and actually goes back, and then it goes behind the Speedway. So the proposal is to make that, where the light is, like a street to go into the car wash, and the car wash would actually be tucked behind where the Speedway is. I'm also in communication with Idle Hour Tennis Club, who are opposed this 150% also. So they're the 2 properties, and the 2 properties have been sold. And I'm sure it's probably contingent on what actually they can build on there. But it's all, you know, it's private property at this point.
Is the tennis clubs not privately owned?
The tennis court is, but the 2 properties have been bought already by 2 different developers.
Could you just say one more time who the developer was for the Mazzino tract?
For the townhouses and the homes, it's Rockwell Development.
Rockwell, okay.
The gentleman's name is Greg Lingo, Lingo. He owns a number of properties in Upper Darby already, pretty much Fern Boulevard. And across from there, Woodland, he bought like where the trophy is, Woodland Avenue. He says he owns 40 properties. I'm not sure exactly where the other ones are. And then the other owner, it's an LLC, so I don't know the name. It's like one township.
Well, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. This will definitely be something that we discuss at our next meeting, and maybe we can each take a leg and try to at least get ourselves more informed of the actual areas. But thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
You're very welcome. And the hearing for the car wash was supposed to be in September, but then that was delayed. And I'm not sure, but it's supposed to be on the agenda for September 30th at the zoning board. Because in both of these situations, not for, if Rockwell Development goes with Plan A for the single homes, he can do that today. But for the car wash, that does require a zoning change, which the township and ultimately the council, Upper Darby Council, has control over.
Oh, okay.
So it really does come down to Upper Darby making the decision, what's going to happen there.
There's a possible zoning change for the other Mazzino tract too, but
Yeah.
each
Right,
of those
if
things is
that-
being investigated by the township, and they're trying to put their best foot forward. The awkward part is, that no matter, when they cut these trees down, no matter what trees you put in there, they're going to be small.
I know.
They will have to grow. They're not going to be doing the same job that these trees have been doing.
I know. And I know that they were doing some studies last week or the last couple of weeks in the 14-acre tract where the homes, and I've gotten multiple phone calls, at least 30 or 40 trees have been taken down already for whatever they're studying, so. And we know how upset people were at Cobb's Creek. Yeah, told me, for whatever study he was doing, I'm not sure, the engineering study. And we know how upset people were at Cobb's Creek too, when they took all those trees down. So you just can't get them back. once
They're
they're
still
gone.
laying in places, just rotting the
Yeah.
wood.
Yep.
And then you add to that, prior to that light, they're going to build a mini hospital
That's
on
exactly right.
Springfield. And again, that's Springfield. That's Christiana.
Right, Christiana Care,
And it's going to be a
micro hospital.
micro hospital with like 10 rooms and whatever.
Yep,
kind of
yep,
an
and that
urgent
just,
care
the
place.
development, the traffic, I mean, it just, the cars, environmentally, it's just not good for any of us.
Progress.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Yeah, this is good.
Ms. Hallam, you have a 2-hour limit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But the first thing I want to do is piggyback on what Lee was talking about. If you go and look at the Planning Commission meeting last month, I think it was, Greg Lingo came before them and told about his plans. And that's when I was first alerted to that. I think Stephen went to the meeting and then let us know. And you can get a lot of information about that. And then just recently, the other Mozina track across City Avenue was sold. So I'm just going to keep this really brief. This is how I feel about this. We have so little open space in Upper Darby that the township has a responsibility to keep those properties and not let them be developed. Yes, they are sold, they're privately sold now, but there is a tool that other places have taken, that the county has taken. The reason that we have the Delco Woods at the Don Guanella property is because the county took that by eminent domain. That means that they can take that property and give the people who own that property a reasonable amount of money for that property, but they can commandeer it. And I know the township has never done this before and that it's out the box for them, but they should do it because this is two areas that are very valuable to us and they should not be building homes or car washes or stores on those properties. There's enough development here that we don't need to do that. And those are precious resources on very fragile landscape. It took the Drexel line 4 years to be able to do that development because of the nature of the landscape that they're on, because they were next to the creek, because they had lots of issues with building on top of a floodplain, and there was a cistern under it. There was just so many issues. And, this is a really fragile landscape and should not be taken. So the township should keep those by eminent domain. That's my point. That's it on that issue. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things that, we talked about. I want to get my prop. So first, I want to thank Rita for the professional and successful plastic pollution process that she's going through. Really, I'm really so happy that we have someone who is so talented and knowledgeable that can take us on this journey. And it might not turn out exactly the way we want it to turn out, but it's been done very carefully and thoughtfully, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to say thank you. I hope that the goal in this business forum process is to care about the issues of the businesses and to help them, but not to stymie the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act, because regardless, this is something that's healthful and helpful to the whole township community and not just, we can't just look at one aspect. So I hope that that's the goal. The pollinator garden at Drexel Line, Steve talked mostly about that. We've been working with Rita and with the developers of the Drexel Line for over a year now to be able to get everything in place to do that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that in the spring, but we have things in place now where it can be watered, people who want to take care of it. So we're hoping that it might be able to be done in the fall, but we're not sure. We had a group of young people who were going to come out and dig up the place for us instead of having to go to a landscaper. However, they have a different project now and they're not going to be able to come out. But if we wanted to get volunteers, I am sure that we can reach out to the tree tenders and other groups to help us get a whole bunch of people out there to dig up that grass. The space is not that big. So, but the other thing is that we successfully completed our Clean Air Council grant that gave us the funds to do the pollinator workshops, to put in not only Kristen's pollinator garden, but Ray King got a pollinator garden. One of the community members who came to the workshop, she's actually going to, she has started to put in her own pollinator garden, and she's requested plants from us as well. So we have no money left from the Clean Air Council. You have no money left from the Clean Air Council grant. That's completed. The report is into them. You spent all the money. But I personally would be happy to help the committee write a small mini grant to the Delaware County Conservation District. They give $500, and the due date is October 1st, and I'm happy to write a grant for more pollinator plants, both for the Drexel line and for the community member who's interested in getting plants for her pollinator garden. And one of the really wonderful things that came out of that process is that when we wrote the grant, as you know, to the Clean Air Council, we said we wanted to start a pollinator garden group in Upper Darby. However, it was much easier to convince the Upper Darby Rain Garden group to become the Upper Darby Rain Garden Plus group, because they also want to expand more stormwater management tools like pollinator gardens. So this sort of gives them another thing that they can offer to people who can't do rain gardens after they have an assessment, but they could do a pollinator garden. So they are partnering with the EAC now to offer pollinator gardens to folks as well. So we'll be working with them. And we now have a beautiful sign with an updated logo for the Rain Garden Group, which was done by Kristen. So thank you, Kristen. And it gives credit to the Upper Darby Environmental Advisory Committee and the Upper Darby Rain Gardens for putting in these gardens. And so we have a bunch of these signs and hope to put as many as possible rain garden, pollinator gardens around the township. So pollinator gardens. Alex Danovich, the guy who's going to come and speak, I think maybe I already said that piece. I was going to say, if there's any possibility that the township has funding to support programs that help the community, one of the things, Sharon, that also gets people to learn about things and helps fill that gap is incentives. So if we said we're going to have a program around why plastic containers are not helpful and healthful to you, and we gave away a set of glass leftover containers, people might come out just so they could get their incentives. So incentives actually work, and I think one of the things that we gave at the pollinator gardens was a set of gardening tools, and that was really appreciated by the people who come out. So sometimes that also works to get people to things where they can then learn about why they should be using glass containers instead of plastic ones. Mazzino International Festival, I'm happy to volunteer to be at the International Festival. And I also have a display thing that I'll bring about pollinator gardens and some pollinator garden literature as well. New members, Rita spoke to that. We have some great community members who I've reached out to, or they've reached out to me, that I hope will be able to join you up there and do the good work that you continue to do. And finally, I have a question for Rita. Speaking of the Tiger Woods Learning Lab, did the sidewalks ever go in that help people from Upper Darby actually access that place? Or is there a plan? I know that that was part of the agreement.
The sidewalks from
The sidewalks, yeah.
Down State Road.
I don't know the latest status of the sidewalks, but I do know the bigger golf course is still under construction.
Yep.
That won't be finished until I think 27. So I will get a status on that.
Yeah.
I
share
went
with the
by
group.
the other day and they're working on the sidewalk
Are they?
from all the way out at Rose Playground, all the way up. So
Yeah, but we're most concerned about from 69th Street to the Tiger Woods Learning Center.
It was part of the land development, so it has to be done.
Yeah.
I just need to get a status on when. If they don't do it and we go out to do an inspection and find that what they did doesn't match the recorded plans, they are in trouble. so.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thank you
make-
very much.
it really is unsafe walking along both those roads, whether it's
Yes.
Cardington or on State Road, or
Yes.
Lansdowne as they call it there.
So it will limit the ability of Upper Darby Township young people to go to that place if there really isn't a way to walk safely to that place.
Ms. Hallam, if
Part
you
of the
would,
recorded plan.
Ms. Hallam, if you would, if you turn and show the camera that poster, because it's right behind you there. Okay,
Yes, good job.
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
So I don't want to keep anybody too long, but I have to admit I am deeply troubled by what was shared with us with regards to these development initiatives. Am I to assume that they've already been approved by the zoning committee? No, so they're just being brought up, but the land has been acquired privately. So I guess in my limited understanding, there's probably very little, that can be done in terms of now that land is privately owned. But what I,
Well, Don Guinell owns too.
right,
That's right. That was how many acres and county to purchase that. I did go to the county also. They don't have the funds right now, but I'm also talking to them.
I wonder if a private meeting with the developer in terms of maybe there could be a way that we could offer opportunities for a green space. You're talking about 14 acres. Maybe there is an opportunity for an area that could be preserved. Obviously, if you're going to build homes for 50 people, those people could possibly have children and, you would want some open space for them as well. So maybe. that's
Kristen,
another
he
opportunity.
did present a plan in which there was a small park involved in the whole thing. However, that is not sufficient for cutting down all of those trees and for, especially if they put in all of the development that they say that they're going to put in, that will really impact the waterway there. And it doesn't matter, whether he puts a park in there or doesn't put a park in there. The space should not be taken, period. That's it.
And I'm sure if I'm not aware of it, there's probably many, many Upper Darby residents that are unaware of this, particularly the people in that surrounding area. And, as you know, there's 86,000 residents in Upper Darby, and, but we could be worlds apart. So I think letting people know what they're proposing and being very transparent about that is absolutely necessary. And we'll do our best to work with the township to.
If you had been at the last zoning board meeting, you'd say, everybody knows about it. Place was packed.
People do know about well, yeah, they probably know about both. Not everybody in the township does, though. I'm trying to spread the word along with other people, just what's going on, especially people it affects directly in their backyard. But anyway, I mean, there's something for everybody. We could work together to see what we can do, to save what we can. But I have another comment, not about the Mazzino tract, but about communication. Is there any way that you can also update information on the website, like on the township website, like about your group? Like, I mean, me personally, I've really shied away from social media. I mean, and I think I'm not alone in the township. So if you could say, I know you had on there about tomorrow night being the plastic, the meetings, but on your specific page, when I go on there about the plastics, everything you were talking about, if you could do that on your page, because I'd rather go to a website than go to a social media page. So I don't know if that's something that the webmaster that's hired can do,
Yeah, that would go through Rob Ellis again.
Right.
And communications.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think, I think that'd be helpful, just so people could know,
We'd have to have
what's
somebody on
going
our
on.
committee, be the liaison to them.
Well, I'll have to have a discussion with Rob because the boards, commissions, and committee web pages are not actually meant to be dynamic right now.
Mm,
They're meant to be kind of just very informational, maybe a little dry.
uh-huh.
But, so we would just I need to have a conversation. Not to say things can't change, but right now, that's probably not going to happen unless we give that opportunity to all of the boards, commissions, and committees. But point taken about communication. Yeah, it's something we are working on, and I think you heard me say earlier that these surveys went out through the US Postal Service, and it seemed to have gotten us a decent response. So some people still like mail. Yeah, yeah. I think, I think it was Wanamaker who said 50% of marketing budget is a waste. You just don't know which 50%.
I also wanted to acknowledge you, Lee, for just taking this time to educate your neighbors. I did see you at the last meeting with the Mosey Track and the fact that you're coming to the committee meetings and the commission meetings to continue to spread the word. For those who are watching the replays of the meetings, it is effective that you come and share the information that you want your neighbors to know about. And then when you're out and about, restaurants, events, continue to talk about it, because I think word of mouth is more effective, especially for those of us who are not really actively on social media. So a text message, a phone call, that'll also help get the word out to your neighbors.
How is, and if somebody could help me with, so what happens now? So obviously there was a preliminary zoning meeting. What happens now with this idea?
No, there was a planning commission meeting.
Planning
So the developer expressed interest in presenting a preliminary plan to the planning commission to get feedback. So after that, the developer sent out, I think it was 400 letters to neighbors in the immediate area and had a session. He hosted it. It was not a township meeting with those residents to get more feedback.
And that's already occurred
That happened, yes.
Oh, good.
this summer?
Yes, yes, it did.
And was
Um,
that well attended?
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, by right, the way it's zoned, R1, the developer can do 56 single-family homes. The developer has expressed an interest in doing a mixed-use development and shared plans for that with the community. And that would require variances or a zoning overlay. And the developer has expressed interest in, again, going back to Planning Commission to talk about updates since he first presented to them. Act 247 guides land development, and that process has not started yet. He has not filed for Act 247. Once he does, we're on a time frame that the township cannot veer from.
Okay.
And
Thank you
then
for
that will involve all the steps,
Got it. Okay. Thank you for
culminating with
clarifying that.
council.
Okay. That's different because of the zoning of that particular area of land?
That's Mosino Track 2, and it's actually, the parcel is subdivided. One portion of it is commercial, the other is residential. So the zoning that developer would be going for is to be able to put the car wash on both plots. So we'd need a variance from the residential. If the developer does not get that zoning variance, I believe they have a plan for putting it on the commercial side, the zoned commercial. But again, that formal process has not started yet.
Okay.
There's also the possibility or probability that was supposed to be the connection for the Darby Creek Trail. If you went across at that junction where the trail would cross State Road and then cross Township line, you would go right into the woods just to the northeast side, I guess it is, of the gas station. That would be part of this property. So there would have to be an easement set up, something like that, so that people, both pedestrians and bicycles, could follow the trail. So the township is exploring all of these things.
That hearing September 3rd. For what he's looking for.
Yes.
So that is already,
That's zoning hearing board. It's just not Act 247. It's customary to get the zoning variances before filing for Act 247.
okay.
So I might have missed something. So the 600 the letters that went out to 600 surrounding residents, was there any opportunity for them to respond or give their input?
The 400, I believe it was 400, those were sent by the developer. It was not a township
Ah,
event.
okay.
And as Michelle mentioned, it was standing room only. I believe they had it at the Artillery Brewing event space.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the developer's initiative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to add to answering your question, all the residents, or I'm going to say most of the residents, had questions and oppositions. He did have both plans displayed, and he stayed around to the end for residents to continue to ask questions. So it's still in the planning stages.
It is what we want, I think. I mean, I'm a resident and also in my professional role. He came early to the planning commission. He made it public early, and the public is responding with their feedback. So it's a process. We know sometimes these things take a while. I think when it comes to major land development, that's a good thing. I think the earliest it can get started, the better. So we are still, it's nowhere near going to township council for approval. It's quite a ways away from that.
Mm-hmm. Thank
But
you.
you indicated there's already been dozens of trees removed already, so
That's what I was told. I was getting phone calls. I have not been, there was a back call from residents that live off of Terrawood. I have not been back in that area. My daughter got married Saturday, so kind of make that a priority. Now I can go back and start seeing what's going on, but that's the text messages I was getting. I'm not sure. That's what they said.
would you like to be on our committee?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I have to drive back. But he did say he was going to some engineer. I don't know if that means you have to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that.
Thank you.
Are there any upcoming environmental events anybody would like to share?
Other than those two, the International Fair and the volunteering for the Darby Creek.
Great. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
There is.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. That's a huge number.
More than that. So we can plant some stuff in the spring. But we would prefer to plant some stuff in November. Might not be able to get the Milwaukee far.
Your glass bin in Havertown was really full.
But we can certainly.
The one when oh my goodness.
Some
Alexis, who I work with over there,
repairing stuff.
she gets it,
Even if it's only 100 or
like a
200.
new one dropped off from time to time. They fly through that.
I was like,
There's a permanent PRC glass bin
Yeah, we had that meeting.
at the Haverford
And we
Preserve.
walked through here.
People are using it all the time. It really shows you the tree.
yeah. They probably have good bottles of wine.
Going like, oh my God.